Top 10 gemstones that quietly replaced gold in private wealth. Gold is declared. It's weighed, recorded, taxed, and stored under lock and law. Every ounce has a ledger. Every move leaves a trail. In private finance, that doesn't mean security. It means exposure. But what if wealth didn't shimmer? What if it didn't show up in appraisals, export records, or public auctions? There exists another tier, one quieter, deeper, and far more elusive. Stones that don't headline at Sotheby's, but sit in vaults no one talks about. Gems that don't glisten for Instagram, but anchor fortunes across generations. These are not investments. They're vantage points, geological singularities, financial shadows. And while gold remains the icon, these stones replaced it where it mattered most, in the private, invisible empires of real wealth. Press and hold that like button, leave a comment, and hit subscribe. Because today we're revealing 10 gemstones that quietly outmaneuvered gold, not through shine, but through silence. Ranked 10th, demantoid garnet, wealth that doesn't register. Demantoid garnet doesn't dazzle in photographs, but under natural light, it burns. Not with sparkle, but with spectral fire sharp enough to rival diamonds. First found in the Russian Urals in the 1860s, this chromium-rich garnet never entered the mainstream. The deposits were shallow, the material volatile, and the yield rarely exceeded 1 carat. It was never meant for the masses. In its prime, demantoid appeared in Fabergé's work for the Romanovs, used sparingly, almost reverently. And when the empire fell, it didn't vanish in looting or fire. It simply went quiet, locked in drawers, misfiled in ledgers, sealed in vaults that no longer had inheritors. For decades, the world forgot it. Demantoid is fragile. It fractures. It resists cutting. It doesn't lend itself to certification or mass valuation. And that's exactly what made it ideal. It slipped through customs. It stayed out of catalogs. It was too specific, too risky, and too irreplaceable to ever go public. In the 2010s, a few new demantoids surfaced. Not Russian, but similar enough to prompt scrutiny of old holdings. Some revealed the telltale horsetail inclusions, a mineral fingerprint unique to pre-revolutionary Russia. In 2021, a flawless Russian demantoid over 3 carats quietly changed hands. No listing, no photos. 3 vetted buyers saw it. 1 made the purchase. The others said nothing. There was no price announcement, no market reaction. Just a whisper passed between collectors. It's the first of its kind seen in over 15 years. Demantoid garnet isn't rare because it's advertised. It's rare because it never needed to be. It never replaced gold in display cases. It replaced gold by being invisible to the systems that track wealth at all. Ranked 9th, rarity, the asset without an audience. Grandidierite was never meant to be a gemstone. Discovered in 1902 on Madagascar's southern coast, it lingered in textbooks for over a century, admired in theory, unseen in reality. For decades, not a single faceable stone surfaced. No auctions, no jewelers, no market. Then in 2014, that changed. A small deposit near Tranamaro revealed a handful of translucent crystals. Not enough for retail, just enough to attract the attention of those who value scarcity without attention. Not collectors, but asset custodians, trustees, strategists. The kind who don't want value seen, only held. Grandidierite lacks everything the market depends on. No pricing index, no consistent clarity, no universal grading standard. Its color floats between sea glass green and electric teal. Never exact, always shifting. Most stones are under 2 carats. Stones above 4 are nearly undocumented. That's precisely why it matters. By 2018, grandidierite began moving quietly, not through dealers, but through sealed portfolios. A 3-carat stone might appear in a legal settlement, a 5-carat piece bundled with vintage watches or bearer bonds. In one known case, a matched pair of stones was used to offset collateral on a frozen offshore account. No photographs, no records, no resale. The few that exist are held inside trusts or vaults with no digital footprint. They aren't insured. They aren't advertised. They don't need to be. Their value isn't defined by public demand. It's defined by absence, by obscurity, by how perfectly they disappear from visibility. Grandier, it doesn't perform like gold. It avoids performance altogether, and in doing so, becomes untouchable. Ranked 8th, Red Beryl, the gem that never crossed borders. Red Beryl doesn't leave Utah, not because it can't, but because it's not meant to. Mined only in one place on Earth, the Ruby Violet claim in Utah's Thomas Range. Red Beryl was discovered in 1904, but remained a geological curiosity for most of the 20th century. It was too rare to trade, too localized to market, and too fragile to scale. Unlike rubies or emeralds, it didn't spread across continents. It didn't appear in auction houses or museum displays. It stayed home. Red Beryl isn't a gem with demand curves or price charts. Fewer than 1,000 gem-quality stones have entered circulation, most under 1 carat, many locked away in private estates. Some are rumored to sit in Utah trust vaults, never worn, never shown, passed down as legal instruments rather than jewelry. There's no international certification system for Red Beryl, no standard appraisals, no retail visibility. The few that surface move through quiet estate settlements, sealed family deals, or intergenerational transfers within U.S. borders. There is no need for customs clearance, no insurance, no import paperwork. And that's what makes it powerful. Red Beryl isn't a global asset, it's an immobile one. Its value lies in its confinement, a gemstone that retains worth not because it travels the world, but because it stays rooted in a legal framework outside of international scrutiny. Red Beryl doesn't behave like traditional gemstones. It's not worn, it's not displayed, it's not meant for public desire. It's an American-kept secret. And in a world obsessed with liquidity, Red Beryl's value lies in its refusal to move. Ranked 7th, Spinel, the stone that slipped through every system. For centuries, Spinel was mistaken for ruby, set in crowns, listed in royal ledgers, and passed between dynasties without a second thought. That misidentification became its greatest advantage. Ruby became regulated, taxed, and appraised. Spinel slipped through. True high-grade Spinel, particularly from Burma's Mogok region, is no longer mine. What exists today is legacy stock, stones held quietly in vaults, trusts, or legal inheritances. These aren't marked by certificates or auction history. They're marked by silence. Spinel was never standardized. It wasn't traded on a price per carat basis. It avoided global gemological frameworks entirely. The people who held it didn't need to prove what it was, only that no one else had it. Then came the Mahenja discovery in Tanzania, 2007. Vivid neon pink spinels, chemically pure, entirely untreated, surfaced briefly. But within months, the best material vanished. Not into stores, into collections. Private, sealed, unlisted. A handful of dealers in Bangkok and Idar Oberstein cut what they could. The rest disappeared. Today, a Mahenj Spinel over 5 carats with no treatment doesn't just avoid the open market. It avoids photography. In certain circles, Geneva, Dubai, Singapore, such stones are traded alongside vintage Patek Philippe's, bearer bonds, or untitled art. They're not insured. They're not declared. Their value under erasure. Spinel has no pricing benchmark. Its value is defined by context, origin, clarity, ownership chain, and discretion. Unlike diamonds, which are sold by formulas, spinels are negotiated like secrets. Some families pass them through wills. Others hold them as anchors in wealth restructuring. While other gems ask for attention, Spinel does the opposite. It exists only where control matters more than appearance. Ranked 6th, Savorite, the stone that supply chains couldn't touch. Savorite was never meant to be mass-produced. Not because of lack of beauty, it outshines emerald in clarity and durability, but because its origin made it impossible. Found in the borderlands of Kenya and Tanzania during the 1960s, Savorite existed in geology too fragmented and in politics too unstable to allow industrial extraction. Every carat was the result of personal risk. This lack of scale made it perfect for private wealth. Savorite needs no treatment. Its color, pure electric green, comes untouched from the earth. There's no oil, no heat, no filler. And in the gemstone world, Purity without intervention is currency. Stones over 5 carats are almost mythological. Stones over 10 are spoken of but rarely seen. That scarcity made them perfect for vanishing. Savorites don't flow through big-name auctions or public gem fairs. They pass quietly through inheritance, trust restructuring, or discreet collateral swaps. You won't find them in jewelry ads. Because there is no global framework for savorite traceability, it falls outside scrutiny. No conflict-free paperwork, no international grading curve, no customs red flags. And for ultra-private asset holders, that's not a flaw. It's the point. A known savorite over 9 carats traded in 2022 between two family offices. It wasn't appraised. It wasn't listed. It moved alongside unregistered bearer shares in tax-silent art. The stone never needed to be worn. It wasn't purchased for visibility. It was acquired to exist, quietly, beyond interference. It didn't just resist the global market. It refused to play the game at all. Ranked 5th, Paraíba tourmaline, the color that can't be captured. Discovered in Brazil's Paraíba state during the 1980s, this copper-rich tourmaline glows from within, a neon turquoise so vivid it seems to emit light. But there's a catch. Cameras can't capture it. Under a lens, the brilliance fades. The glow collapses into flat green or blue, which means Paraíba's true value can't be photographed. It has to be witnessed, and that makes it a perfect ghost asset. Later discoveries in Nigeria and Mozambique mimic the color, but lack the signature fluorescence. True Brazilian Paraíba, with that unmistakable light, is finite. Stones over 3 carats vanish into private exchanges, not as jewelry, but as identity. In one documented case, a 7-carat Paraíba was collateralized against an undeclared Swiss art acquisition. No appraisal, just authentication under sunlight in silence. There is no global price chart for Paraíba. It's not traded, it's recognized, quietly, by those who know what it is and why it doesn't need to be shown. Collectors don't wear Paraíba tourmaline. They hold it, because what makes it valuable can't be seen under glass or validated by certificate. It's verified only in motion, when the stone catches light and, for one unphotographable second, becomes impossible to ignore. It slipped past it, invisible to systems built to measure everything but presence. Ranked 4th, Padparadscha sapphire, the standard no one could agree on. Padparadscha isn't a color, it's a question. Hovering between pink and orange, flame and lotus, this sapphire defies every attempt at classification. Labs can't agree. Dealers argue, collectors whisper, because the moment it's pinned down, it stops being Padparadscha. Its value comes not from definition, but from defiance. First revered in Sri Lanka, Padparadscha wasn't born into the market. It was born into ritual. Heirlooms passed between generations, not appraised, just kept. Unlike blue sapphires, there was no royal marketing, no crown jewels, just private meaning. And in that silence, a loophole opened. No international lab could standardize it. Too pink, not Padparadscha. Too orange, rejected. Heat treated to fake the hue, technically legal, ethically gray. The ideal Padparadscha is a contradiction. Vivid, yet soft. Fiery, yet floral. And the moment someone claims to have the perfect one, they reveal they don't understand it at all. There's no global price benchmark, no customs tariff code, no retail chain pushing it. The fewer people who can define it, the harder it is to regulate. They're moved discreetly, between family trusts, succession plans, and sealed agreements. Not for sale, not even for display. They're not assets, they're assertions. In one case, a matched pair of 3-carat stones was used to settle a family inheritance spanning 3 countries. No cash, no transfers. The stones changed hands. The value didn't move. That's Padparadscha at its highest function, a medium of continuity that doesn't need permission. Padparadscha doesn't behave like a commodity. It behaves like a secret, guarded, interpreted, never truly explained. And that's what makes it untraceable. Unregulated, unmatched. Ranked 3rd, Geromejavite, the shift that needed no color change. Geromejavite is almost mythological, not in origin. Its discovery in the late 19th century was purely scientific, but in circulation. Most gemologists have never handled one. Many seasoned collectors have never seen one, and fewer than a handful have ever confirmed ownership of a specimen above 2 carats. Pale blue, sometimes near colorless, sometimes with a soft, icy tint. It lacks the flamboyance of sapphires or the fire of diamonds, but its properties are immutable. Perfect hexagonal structure, hardness comparable to topaz, and total resistance to enhancement. No heat treatment, no synthetic duplication, and no commercial availability. Jeremejevite surfaced first in Namibia, but what changed its trajectory wasn't the geology. It was the silence. There is no organized trade, no bulk market, no catalog pricing. The few known specimens, often under 1 carat, were acquired through private negotiation, estate inheritance, or field acquisition decades ago. Their value isn't derived from hype or heritage. It's derived from vanishing point logic. What cannot be sourced cannot be priced, and what cannot be priced cannot be taxed. Today, Jeremejevite is used in a way few other stones are, as key inside vault assets, held as backups to bearer instruments included in family office asset transfers, or embedded in generational wealth clauses where even lawyers are unaware of their presence. Their chemical signature is distinct, but visually and they disappear, and that is the function. Ranked second, Kashmir sapphire. The price was never the point. There are no new Kashmir sapphires. The mine collapsed nearly a century ago. The valley was sealed by snow, then by conflict. What remains, what truly qualifies as Kashmir, emerged only during a brief 5-year window in the late 1800s. Everything after is speculation. These sapphires weren't sold in markets. They were assigned by blood, title, or circumstance. Most were never mounted in jewelry. Many still aren't. They live in vaults, legal trusts, and estate lock boxes that haven't been opened in decades. Their value doesn't rise, it doesn't fall, it simply exists. Outside of price charts, outside of auctions, outside of time. The original stones are unmistakable, deep velvety blue with a softness no other sapphire replicates. They don't sparkle, they glow like midnight on silk. Most were mined by hand at 14,000 feet and carried down the Himalayas without a single machine. But today they are nearly myth. In Geneva, a 7-carat Kashmir sapphire changed hands in 2019. No catalog listing, no public viewing. The buyer arrived, inspected the stone under north-facing light, then left. The gem never saw the auction room. The deal never reached the press. Only the gemological labs were notified, and even then, just for verification. Why? Because for those who own real Kashmir sapphires, market recognition is irrelevant. Ownership is not a signal, it's a lineage. Unlike diamonds or emeralds, Kashmir sapphires don't invite comparison. There are too few, too privately held, too historically shielded. They don't need provenance documents. The stone itself is the proof, its hue, its inclusions, its quiet. Because when wealth is held in a blue so deep it doesn't flash, only hums, its function changes. Kashmir sapphires don't exist in the market. They exist in the spaces the market can't see. In first place, serendipite, the ownership that refuses visibility. Serendipite isn't for sale, it isn't listed, and it has no auction history that can be verified through public channels. It is among the rarest gemstones on Earth, rarer than red diamonds, jadeite, or even muscovite. But unlike those, serendipite has never been commodified. It has remained sovereign, untouched by valuation systems, market speculation, or mainstream gemology. Discovered in Sri Lanka in 1902, and again in Myanmar's Mogok region over a century later, serendipite appears as deep greenish blue to black, opaque to translucent under direct light. Its specific gravity is immense, its refractive index extreme, and its gemological footprint almost zero. Why? Because nearly all fastable serendipite, especially stones above 1 carat, have already been acquired, not by collectors, not by jewelers, but by multifamily offices, sovereign trusts, and undisclosed asset vehicles operating far outside the reach of traditional markets. Serendipite doesn't participate in luxury. Luxury demands circulation. Serendipite demands confinement. In 2020, a 2.52-carat faceted serendipite was photographed privately in Bangkok. That image was never published. Instead, it was encrypted, verified across two geological institutions, and referenced in a sealed investment protocol between two shadow funds. The stone was not moved, only access to it changed. It became not an object of possession, but of position. There are no synthetics that match it, no labs that can enhance it, and no markets that have standardized it. Because serendipite does not enter systems, it escapes them. It is not an investment. It is an erasure of visibility, of speculation, and of every metric used to define modern wealth. When serendipite appears, it isn't announced. It is acknowledged quietly by those who don't need to prove anything anymore. These stones were never advertised. They weren't priced for retail, certified for mass appraisal, or launched with celebrity endorsements. They were chosen, one by one, vault by vault, not for their glamour, but for their ability to disappear. Gold is visible. These stones are not. Gold gets tracked. These never needed to be. They didn't outperform gold in value charts. They outmaneuvered it in every system designed to measure value. So if you're still chasing what's loud, glittering, and trending, you're watching the wrong list. But if you understand that true wealth whispers, then you've just seen what the world's most discreet families already know. Let us know in the comments, which stone would you keep and never show again? And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because the next story may be even harder to trace.